Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a story that, at first glance, is just about a small, furry pet, but underneath, it actually reveals pretty much everything you need to know about modern media, sensationalism, and, honestly, the art of twisting the truth. We're going to break down the seemingly impossible, totally sensationalized case of Harry the hamster. And through this really simple story, we'll unpack exactly how narratives get built, how they completely fall apart under basic scrutiny, and then how they're cleverly rebuilt just to keep our attention. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Impossible Hamster Escape. Let's set the scene.
Okay, let's dive into this. So we've got this scientist named Dr. Bob and his test subject, a really clever hamster named Harry. Dr. Bob puts Harry into his cage and makes this massive, definitive public announcement. He says Harry has absolutely no way to get outside, right? He doesn't say it's unlikely, he doesn't say it's improbable, he uses absolute terms. And, as the story goes, everyone who heard this was just totally amazed. Dr. Bob successfully set this baseline of impossibility. He primed his audience to believe that this enclosure is the ultimate fortress. Now, keep that baseline in mind, because it's literally the foundation for everything that happens next.
But then, we get the twist. The very next morning, the hamster is gone. Harry has completely vanished. The impossible has somehow actually happened. Now, you might be thinking, if you're a scientist and your supposedly inescapable cage was just breached, your first instinct would probably be to, quietly investigate the structural integrity of your setup, but, as we're about to see, that's not what Dr. Bob does. Not even close.
Instead of figuring out what went wrong, Dr. Bob immediately calls up all the newspapers, blasting out this sensational, all-caps headline. Incredible, our hamster escaped a completely sealed cage. He's actively framing the narrative here. Notice his language. He introduces the phrase completely sealed cage just to dial up the drama. He's not presenting a problem that needs solving. He's presenting this magical event that we're all supposed to marvel at. He's literally generating hype based entirely on his own prior, flawed claim.
Which brings us to Section 2, Uncovering the Real Path. Time for a reality check.
Now, what's really interesting about this part of the story is that the hype is at an all-time high, right? But we desperately need a methodical reality check. Enter a little girl in the crowd. She represents that critical thinker who's actually looking past the headlines. She looks around and discovers the painfully mundane reality of Harry's grand escape. Let's look at the actual layout of Dr. Bob's lab. Step 1. Harry crawled through a little tube connected to his cage. Step 2. That tube just led to a second cage, which had a door. Step 3. Harry ran down the laboratory hallway. And Step 4. The hallway had a door leading outside, and he just escaped through it. Guys, there was no teleportation. There was no bending the laws of physics. It was literally just a direct walking path from point A to point B.
So this brings us to a massive physical discrepancy. On one hand, we've got Dr. Bob's manufactured narrative, the completely sealed cage. That's the story he sold to the press. But on the other hand, we have the literal reality of the enclosures, which was just a series of connected doors. It's a blatant contradiction. And the space between these two concepts, well, that's exactly where sensationalism lives. It's that giant gap between what sounds amazing and what is actually true.
Moving on to Section 3, the art of the spin, the interrogation.
Let's move to the interrogation phase and see how this builds. Because the little girl, she isn't buying the magic trick at all. She starts this Socratic deconstruction of his whole story. She asks, super logically, step by step, wasn't there a tube to another cage? Wasn't that connected to the hallway? Didn't the hallway have a door to the outside? Against all this basic logic, just listen to Dr. Bob's admissions. First, he starts with a really reluctant, well, yes. Then a flat, yes. And finally, when she totally corners him on the door leading outside, he retreats to, well, technically. You can practically feel the friction here as his grand, magical claim is just slowly dismantled by simple, undeniable facts.
And then, she delivers the absolute knockout blow. Scratching her head, she just deadpans. So, Harry didn't escape through the walls. He just found the door you forgot about. Ouch, right? Dr. Bob frowns and just says, no. This is the exact moment the entire illusion is completely destroyed. Occam's razor has officially been applied. The simplest explanation, which is human error and an open door, has easily defeated that complex, sensational claim of a magical escape.
Section 4. The quest for headlines. The media pivot. This brings us to the climax of our explainer. Because honestly, the most fascinating part of this whole story isn't the physical escape of a hamster, it's Dr. Bob's immediate reaction to being caught in a logical fallacy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mechanics of a media pivot. Think about it. Dr. Bob thinks for a second. He's been thoroughly debunked. His original claim is totally dead. So does he apologize? Does he admit he just left a door open? Absolutely not. No way. He turns directly back to the television cameras and instantly shifts the goalposts. Look at the first headline, the debunked one. Escaped a completely sealed cage. Now look at his immediate pivot for the second headline. Superintelligent hamster discovers secret path. He completely changes the narrative right on the spot just to maintain the hype.
What Dr. Bob is doing right here is known as headline chasing. It's the act of prioritizing dramatic, sensationalized phrasing over factual reality. I mean, an unlocked door literally becomes a secret path. It's a complete repackaging of mundane reality to ensure it remains a spectacle. As the little girl wisely whispers to her mom at the end of the story, "I think Dr. Bob likes headlines," she totally hits the nail on the head. She correctly identifies his motivation. It was never actually about the science. It was always about the attention.
So the crucial point is just how easily reality is manipulated by vocabulary. We've tracked exactly how ordinary facts are deliberately spun for maximum dramatic effect. A clever hamster gets upgraded to super intelligent, forgot a door is rebranded as a secret path, and a simple exit is sold to us as a magic escape. Every single mundane detail is aggressively polished into the shiny, irresistible, but ultimately super misleading headline. It is a literal masterclass in spin.
Which leaves us with a final really vital question for you. Where else do you see Dr. Bob-style headlines in your everyday media consumption? Because while the magic hamster escape might be a simple, kind of funny story, the truth is, Dr. Bobs are everywhere. They're writing the articles you click on, they're scripting the breaking news alerts buzzing on your phone, and they're drafting those viral posts all over your feed. So, the next time you see a claim that feels just a little too incredible, a little too impossible, challenge yourself to be that little girl in the crowd. Look for the tube, look for the hallway, and ask yourself, is this really magic, or did someone just forget to lock the door? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those tough questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.